gentlemen, the following presentation is brought to you by Mr. Main Event Brian Waters and the Real Dwayne Allen. The Wrestling Wrealm, the show for the intelligent wrestling fans. Off the top rope, I dwell in the wrestling realm. Like Jake stay in the snake pit and Kane be in hell. Like Taker stay in the graveyard, I'm punkin' the shy. Call me Snooker cause I'm super and fly. You can hate all you want, but I'm flossing. The Miz said I'm awesome, and I'm upholding the law just like the big boss man. With Mr. Main Event Brian Waters, the Real Dwayne Allen, toss you over the border like Hernandez, Mandez, pressing the stands. It's the show for the intelligent wrestling fans. Hitman like Hawk, but I'm not from Calgary. I'm all about the bill, so let that gold shower me, empower me like Farouk and the nation. If you don't know your history, then you should change the station. But if you do, you can cruise to YouTube / the Wrestling Wrealm. Your lessons are stale. Say the same old lines, man, you destined to fail. Like the Shockmaster or the Wrestler Nails. I'm a heartbreak kid, and my bid to be champion is unmatched. Anybody step, I'm face planting them. With Mr. Main Event and the Real Dwayne, you the sisters of love, we the powers of pain. You see we coming with a spear while you're monkey flipping. It's Brian Waters, Dwayne Allen, and your boy Trenton. And that's just how the story goes. That's just how the story goes. It's the Wrestling Wrealm, baby. The Wrestling Wrealm. Mr. Main Event Brian Waters, the Real Dwayne Allen, and I'm your boy Trent CMG. You know what it is, baby. Let's go.
And we're back with the Real Dwayne Allen's number 4 top WrestleMania of all time.
Woo! Number four.
That's our homemade special effects in case you guys didn't understand what that was. Number 4.
Who needs Final Cut Pro and After Effects when
I know,
you got
right?
the Wrestling Wrealm?
That's right, because anything can happen, we do what we want to do, when we want to do it, how we want to do it, despite what we don't have.
I like it.
See? Wow. Anyway, let's get this show on the road.
All right.
Mr. Main Event, my number 4 WrestleMania of all time will have to be... WrestleMania 10.
Woo!
Madison Square Garden. Now, ladies and gentlemen, don't panic.
10 years in the making.
Was this one of the biggest WrestleManias of all time? In a way.
For its time.
Because naturally it's always special every 10 years at Madison Square Garden, of course. Not necessarily the entire show is what makes it my number 4 top WrestleMania. But the matches were that good where I felt like it feels like the entire card.
Yeah.
What cards am I referring to? What matches? First of all, starting off with Owen versus Brett. We've already had plenty of shows about that story and the dynamic between these guys. Like I said, you know, we're huge fans of the Hart family. Showing us a lot of love as far as the show is concerned. We appreciate everything you guys have done for us.
Check it out. Check out the archives. Wrestling Wrealm, YouTube, Google us.
Definitely, they've been very supportive of what we're doing. We appreciate that. But that being said, and that aside, Owen and Brett, you know, this match right here was, you knew it was going to be good because you had 2 very technical mat technicians, and they're brothers. They know each other in and out. I feel like the ones who have the best matches are the best of friends. You had it like I often refer to Edge and Christian. I remember one time something happened and Edge thought he was going to face somebody on Raw, and that ended up being Christian. And the match was really good. Yeah. And a lot of people were upset about it because they were like, man, they should have advertised this match because they really weren't involved in storylines together, but Christian had just happened to come over from Raw that day. And I think you saw a tease or a build up to almost an Edge and Christian, and it's really unfortunate that we couldn't have got it because I think if they had plenty of time, they could have really destroyed it with that one. But that match alone was good, which is why I appreciate this match so much. Owen and Brett. I like the fact that actually Owen got the win.
Okay.
With Bret Hart being in the status that he was in. Huge fan of Bret Hart. I was actually, I'm a fan of 90s wrestling because of Bret Hart. I'm a fan of Shawn Michaels because of Bret Hart. You know, because I looked at Bret Hart as when I got back into wrestling, it was post my brother's generation, where Hogan sort of was on his way out, and you had that time between where Bret Hart was given a torch, and he had to sort of reprogram wrestling fans, which is why Bret Hart got upset at WrestleMania 9, of course, when the whole switcheroo thing, when Hogan had to, you know, when Bret Hart has gone on record as saying how he didn't feel that was the right thing to do because he had spent so much time programming fans to not think that wrestling, or at least the WWF product at the time, was about entertainment, but to reprogram you think to enjoy the wrestling match for what it was, and that was what Bret Hart gave us, was really good in-ring mat technician type moves throughout the entire match, not, you know, spurts, but the entire match.
Right.
With this match between Bret and Owen, you got the best of both worlds. You got an entertaining story.
Oh yeah.
Because you care about the dynamic between two brothers.
Well, let's think back to where it started. Survivor Series '93.
Loved it.
Oh my gosh!
Loved
you know, as a fan at the time, I'm sitting up there wondering, Owen, why you the one stood in the way? You the one got pinned. Suck it up and deal with it. Then I'm watching the Royal Rumble '94. And I'm like, okay, Bret's hurt. Clearly. He gets hurt in the match. But he's still, you know, and Owens, this is your fault. I don't care about your leg. And you just mad because you thinking that these two are going to become tag champions.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes!
Which would have been great.
Exactly. But we don't get that. And then for them to start, this is where Owen becomes right here the top heel of the company.
I think so, because he played it so well.
Yeah, and or it would have only been right for it to be Yokozuna because he was the champ, obviously going to lose the belt later on. Or it would have been right for it to be Shawn Michaels because he was the next guy. Kind of looked at him as the next guy in line. Right. But Owen, I mean, really stole the spotlight.
I mean, naturally, I think it was for Owen to sort of embrace the younger brother living in the older brother's shadow type thing.
And I was going to say that about, you know, you being a younger brother.
Right.
I think you will be able to kind of relate to where he's coming from. Like, you know, it might be one of the situations like, no matter what I do, I'm always going to be a Bret shadow. But he really held his own in this match. And
that was the best part about it, because you saw him hold his own. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he talked about it. He talked about he was the best Hart, but you really saw these guys go back and forth. It wasn't like he had to cheat to win or, you know, extra stuff. He really went at it with Bret. You know what I mean? It's not like a situation where, you know, a guy knows he's not good enough, but he's still running his mouth, and then he gets in the ring and figures, okay, I got to figure out whatever way I can do this to win. And watching, like you said, from a selling standpoint, like you said, they didn't even tell you about it. Anybody who had any type of brother or type of relationship like that, you understood it and you could relate to it. Even myself growing up, my brother was he's about 3 years older than me, and he was you know, he was always in this positive light, and I was always like the tag along younger brother who always felt like that. I felt like that I was better than him and everything anyway, but to be being a younger brother and not really having the opportunity or the spotlight to show it in certain things, different activities. You know, I feel like I could do it, but I just wasn't involved in anything to show these type of things. Right. And you saw it manifest in the wrestling ring. You saw it manifest in the story. So why not see something you can relate to manifest on what you see on television? You know, and let alone not a cartoon or TV show, but wrestling. You know, which everybody at my age was probably watching at the time, because wrestling wasn't as popular as it was, as what I should say it would later be. But, you know, like I said, you know, wrestling's almost like a coming of age for young boys. At some point, every kid usually watches wrestling. And it was the same thing. So I think it was a really good match to start off with. And I love the ending. I love the fact that Owen Hart beat Bret. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I was telling Mr. Main Event, recently we was talking about the cage match these guys had. And it was funny how Owen Hart lost, and he told him, you know, and he was celebrating the back as if he didn't lose. And he's like, Owen, you lost. He's like, well, nah, I didn't lose. You know, let's go celebrate. You know, and I was like, it was funny because even his loss, he still didn't think he lost. It's like, you know, you just like it was great. Owen Hart was really good at what he did as far as the stuff between between him and Bret. Because like I said, Bret was a guy who was known for in-ring stuff. He wasn't really known for his promos and stuff. Not that he was bad or sucks and everybody says it.
He told a story.
And that was the best. Like, person like me, you know, I'm always about don't talk about it, be about it. Not many people can do that. Maybe a Chris Benoit, Kurt Angle, Bret Hart. These guys were able to say, okay, I don't have to say much, but I go and I'll say what I have to say in the ring. It doesn't mean putting a good match. It means literally telling a story in the ring. And I thought he did a really good job of it. So I think this is one of the major reasons. And because it was the starting match, that has a lot to do with it as well.
Oh, it definitely.
This is definitely one of my
if
top.
I had to go on the record and say this is the best opener in the history of WrestleMania,
I think I can't do. There's no way to get around that. You know what I mean? You had because then you would later see Bret Hart later on in the show. So I'm saying, so you sort of got a twofer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to see the top guy in the company. You know.
Hence why, because he won the Royal Rumble,
Co-winner
with Lex Luger.
Naturally, you know what I mean. So he got his opportunity. You know, and he still put his brother over. You know what I mean? That's I thought it was really good. Moving on to the match, Bam Bam and Luna versus Doink the Clown and Dink. Not really why we're talking about this, but it's just naturally here.
Well, Bam Bam and Doink was in a huge storyline at the time. Luna was Bam Bam's main squeeze, and Dink was just a midget Doink the Clown.
Yeah, didn't really.
Enough said.
It's the '90s, you know. So you know, yeah. And then you moving on to Randy Savage and Crush.
You said it best. Two people who know each other. Two friends. These two were best friends. You know, outside of the business. So,
absolutely.
And the storyline, I remember. Savage was in a title match with Yokozuna, and obviously now I knew it was one of the things at the time when I was watching. I was like, I'm hoping Savage get the belt. I don't think he is. Crush comes out there and really does a number on Savage's throat. Hence, let's go back in time. 7 years prior, Savage did the same thing to Steamboat.
Right.
You know, nonetheless, sets up for this match and the ending. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
you know, Savage absolutely. Tying him up, you know, because this was a different kind of match. Sorry to take your spot.
No, not at all. This is your show too, brother.
You know, it was a false count anywhere,
naturally.
But you would pin the guy, 1, 2, 3, and then you had to get back to the ring.
Right.
Before the count of 10.
Right.
And Savage would take Crush all the way to the back, and then pin him, and then he would make the. It was interesting, nonetheless.
Naturally, you know what I'm saying? I think anything with Savage. Savage is, I still think as good as he was, completely underrated in a lot of ways. Especially with getting people over and, you know, the matches he was involved with.
Well, he was, you know, I mean, he was a part of the Hogan era. So
yeah, it's like Hogan was his era was so thick, and him and I think also Shawn Michaels, where it's so hard to break through because those guys were just.
It was so good.
Yeah, I mean, like these are guys that you leaned all your limbs on. You know, this is what you base your entire company around. And I think it was difficult for anybody. And like I said, one thing that comes to mind is like Vader. People wonder why he never got a dub. I said, man, it's tough. I would have easily given him the title over Sid Vicious, but he was involved in that storyline with Shawn Michaels, of course, and that was naturally one of his buddies. Yeah. So it's just like, okay. Because those eras were so dependent on those guys, because you couldn't afford to give anybody the title run because WWE's in dire strength at the time on, you know, WCW kicking their tail. So I look at it like one of those situations as well with Macho Man. You know what I mean? So a lot of his matches and a lot of stuff goes in the shadows, and it doesn't get the credit that it naturally deserves.
Right.
But nonetheless, great match. You know, for what it was. You know what I mean? So you can't. Moving on to the